We're doing well. My name is Brad. So today we're going to be going through SEO housekeeping you can't ignore. So a quick introduction to me. As Anne said, I've been at Annika for 8 years. I've worked in SEO overall for about 12 years. And to start off with, I've mainly focused on local SEO and then moved into more of a technical SEO role. So I'm involved in a lot of site migrations, site launches, that sort of stuff. And more recently, as I've moved into a strategist role, kind of looking at new websites and seeing whether SEO is right for them, whether it's worth them undertaking an SEO project and seeing what the best way to go about that would be. If you're a regular on the webinars, you'll know these slides. So just a quick about Annika section. So
I don't know if the slides are moving at the moment. Katie, can you see
about Annika?
No, hold on a second. Just check. Katie, can you see the next slide?
I can now, but I couldn't before.
Oh yeah, that's fine. It's working now. So if you do display share again, we'll just tell you whether go back up to display.
Does that change?
Try it again.
Yeah, I'm changing it now.
Yep, that's working.
Okay, cool. So yeah, yeah, like I said, if you're a regular on the webinars, you'll know these slides. So I'll quickly go over these. Just a little bit about Annika. So we were established in 2007, so 16 years old this year. We're over 20 staff and over 46 clients as well. We work with quite a few different companies, and we provide analytics, creative, paid media, SEO, PR, social media. We also have a heavy focus on training as well. So we like to share our knowledge with people. And that goes between people that specifically want training and our normal clients as well that just have an actual service. We love to keep them up to date with how things are going and train up their team. And we also like to think of ourselves as a extension of your own internal marketing team. So no matter what kind of client we work with, we seem to have really good relationships with everyone. And like I say, we kind of act as your own internal marketing team. So we're always on the end of the phone or can pop in to see you or anything like that. This is swapping slides still, isn't it, Anne?
Yes, it's fine.
Yeah. Okay, good. I didn't want to go through loads of slides and then. So yeah, like I say, today we're going to go through kind of SEO housekeeping that you can't ignore. So I've kind of gone through the different aspects of SEO and just picked out a couple of things that really you should be doing on a more regular basis, whether that be quarterly or 6 monthly or something like that. So looking at everything that you can do that's fairly easy to impact and that you can have control over without the need for developers and people like that to be able to make loads of changes to the site for you that can become quite costly. So first of all, we'll go through what do we mean by SEO? So SEO, for anyone that doesn't know, stands for search engine optimization, and it is the process of improving a website to increase your visibility in organic search results. SEO can be broken down into 3 main areas, and these are technical SEO, on-page SEO, and off-page SEO. So when we talk about technical SEO, we're specifically referring to any website changes that you make that don't directly affect the on-page content of the website. So although you might make changes to your website, it's not necessarily an on-page change. So there's a few different things that can fall into technical optimization. So they could be speed optimization, image optimization, metadata, so page titles and meta descriptions. They can fall between technical and on-page. Looking at the indexation of the website and analyzing whether Google's actually crawling the website and indexing it as it should. Looking at the site architecture. So this is all about looking at how the hierarchy of the website sits, whether, people can reach the right parts of the website quickly enough, and whether Google can understand what pages are more important, where they should sit within the hierarchy of the website. And then also looking at response codes. So this could be redirects, 404 pages, server errors, anything where a web page isn't showing as it should do. We've also got on-page SEO. So this refers to any website changes you make directly to the content on your website. So this can include key phrase research, where you're going to find key phrases that you want to optimize on the website, finding out what potential customers are searching to find your products or services. It also includes then optimizing that content that you've researched. So adding those key phrases into your website, optimizing them within headings and things like that. It also includes your blog posts, so any ongoing content that you're creating, and also FAQs as well. So researching what blog posts you could be writing for, what people are searching for in a more longer tail way, what questions are people asking about your products or services, and creating content that's going to get you found for specific queries. It can also include your internal linking as well. So this is all about making sure that your website interlinks together, not just from in your navigation and in your menu. You want to be making sure that you're linking across your category page to category page, or service page to blog post or something like that within the actual content on that page. And also heading tag structure as well. So this is all about making sure that your headings are all structured properly. So your H1 tags, H2 tags, and so on. Making sure that you're not duplicating those. You've only got a single H1 tag on the page and things like that. And then finally, off-page. So off-page specifically refers to any of the tasks completed to improve your website's organic visibility away from the website. This mainly comes down to links, and also your website's domain authority. So whatever kind of tool you use to measure your website's domain authority, whether it be Ahrefs or Moz or something like that, you get a score from 0 to 100. If your website authority was 100 out of 100, you'd have the most authoritative site in the world. Google would trust it loads, and you'd rank for anything you wanted to, essentially. If you've got a brand new website, you start at 0 and you have to build up that trust with Google over time. It is probably the most difficult element of SEO to impact, because in some hands it can be out of your control and you're relying on other people to link to your website. So what we want to be doing is finding as many opportunities as we can to build those links to our website. And that could be through doing link analysis, looking at what links competitors have, looking at any links that you or your competitors have that might be pointing to broken pages. It could also be through things like digital PR campaigns or citation campaigns, and building links that way. And it also includes things like your reviews as well. So reviews aren't necessarily related to links, but if you are a local business, you really need to make sure that you're pushing for reviews, because they can impact how you rank locally when you use the Google map pack listings. Reviews play quite an important part on how well you can rank in there. So moving on to why is SEO housekeeping important? When we think of SEO, the best way that I can think of explaining it is to think of a car. So if you go to a car dealership and you buy a brand new car, you have to perform regular maintenance. If you buy a car and you don't perform regular maintenance, you don't get it serviced, you don't change your tires or brakes or anything like that, at some point down the line, something will go wrong with it and its performance won't be as good as it could be. And it's the exact same for your website. So if you have a new website built and then leave it sat there for 3 or 4 years, the only thing that's going to happen to that website is it's going to get worse. You need to make sure that you're keeping the website updated, creating regular content, improving it to make sure that, you know, you're keeping up with Google's latest guidelines. So you know whether, you know, if you've performed old hat SEO practices that were fine a few years ago, they might not be okay in Google's eyes now. So you need to make sure that you're keeping up to date especially with Google's latest guidelines, else your website could fail its MOT. So yeah, when I was speaking about the Google algorithm updates and things like that just then, so you can keep up to date with all of the Google search ranking updates, and it's really important to try and keep ahead of the curve. A lot of businesses won't necessarily pay attention to anything that Google releases in terms of algorithm updates, but some of them can be very broad, or some of them can be really targeted around a specific topic. And especially now with the rise of ChatGPT and AI and things like that, there might be some websites that just think they can create AI content, paste it out of ChatGPT, put it on their website, and they'll be fine. But a couple of months down the line, Google's already said that if you're just copy and pasting from ChatGPT, generally you shouldn't really be performing that well. But you want to make sure that you keep up to date with all the Google search ranking updates. So I've put a link in the slides here, and any official update that Google releases, they will update this page here on their website. And it's particularly important to check this page if you find that in your Google Search Console or your Google Analytics, you're finding fluctuation with traffic. Particularly in Search Console, if you see big dips or drops in impressions and things like that, you need to make sure that you're checking this page to see if those peaks or troughs in your traffic or impressions, if they correlate with algorithm updates, you'll probably find that, you know, the website has been affected by that update. So you can see the latest one there at the top of there. It was released March the 15th this year, and that's a core update. So that's basically Google updating their core algorithm. So that encompasses everything. That's all about the content on the website, authority and links and things like that. If you're paying for links, then Google's really hot on that, and you might find that if you've bought links, then you know Google's basically going to start ignoring those links and things like that. And sometimes the updates can take a few weeks to roll out, and Google will specify how long it takes to roll out that update. So you can see there on the March 15th one, it says the rollout may take up to 2 weeks to complete. So about now, we should see that update has finished rolling out. They do generally update it and say the rollout was completed on. So because they've not updated that, it might still be rolling out. But definitely keep up to date with the latest search ranking updates, and just whenever they do release an update, just kind of cross-reference that with the traffic to your website to see whether you've benefited or lost out from that. So moving on to specifically on-page SEO. So on-page SEO is something that you can directly impact on your website. Provided you've got time, you can do this type of work yourself as well, without the need for developers to implement any coding changes or anything like that. It is quite time consuming to do. And the initial part of on-page SEO, when you're looking at key phrase research, is kind of all upfront work. So it does take quite a bit of time to go through and find key phrases for your website and work out whether you need to optimize specific pages and things like that. But essentially on-page SEO, it involves finding relevant key phrases for your website, optimizing the content, creating FAQs and blogs, and more. So the first thing that we want to do is ensure that the website is targeting the relevant keywords. So whether you've got a new website or a website that's been live for years, you want to make sure that the traffic that's coming to that website is relevant or is going to be relevant. So one of the things that we want to do is find those relevant key phrases. So to do this, we want to see what keywords are driving traffic and impressions within the Search Console. So once you're in Search Console, you can click through to the search results, and on the table, click Pages. Pick one of your pages for your website. So when you're on the search results page, you'll see where it says search type web, last 3 months web. You can create your own little filters. So put a filter on a page. So that might be one of your service pages or product pages if you're an e-commerce website. And you can specifically see what key phrases are driving impressions. So impressions are when your website is shown in Google, and clicks are obviously when people have clicked through to your website. So your impressions are always way higher than the clicks. And that's because the key phrase might be towards the bottom of page 1, or it might be on page 2 or something like that. So you want to make sure that the key phrases that are within these reports are related to the content on that page, or they're related to what you think it should be. It should be finding traffic for. So we want to use this data to filter through any key phrases you have a low click-through rate for. So if we go through this list on this slide, we can see that, you know, SEO Leicester, we get 5,000 impressions and 10 clicks. We've got a click-through rate of 0.2%. That sounds like we could probably improve our rankings a little bit. We're getting clicks for it, so we know we're somewhere near that page 1 position, or near the top of page 1. It might be that we're right at the bottom of page 1. But because we are getting clicks to it and we're getting, you know, a good number of impressions, we know that's going to be a key phrase that we should be targeting on our specific SEO page, for example. So low click-through rate can indicate an area of poor performance. So these key phrases currently might not be optimized on your website, or you've optimized them, but they're on page 2 or page 3 of Google. So generating impressions, but no clicks. So I think you get impressions for if you're on the first sort of 5 pages of Google, I think it is, or something like that. So you'll find that even if you're not anywhere near page 1, you'll get impressions for a key phrase, but no clicks. But if you are getting a handful of clicks through, you know that you're probably on page 1, or Google's jumping you between page 1 and page 2. So in that case, it indicates that a page may not have enough authority to rank for much. In that case, you'll need to kind of earn some new links to the specific landing page to build this up. Or you might need to think about the longer tail key phrases, and further down when we talk about finding blogs and things like that, you might need to write an in-depth blog on that topic and link it back to then that main service page. If you have found ideal key phrases that you want to optimize on the page, you need to make sure that you also check in that page to make sure it is fully optimized. So this is typically what all of the optimized areas of a web page could include. So you've got the top 3 here: your title tag, your URL, and meta description. They are for click-through rate and rankings. We call these the pre-click elements, and this is because these are the details that users will see before they click through to your website. So your title tag is what Google shows in Google search. So it's the blue clickable link. In this case, it's purple because I've clicked on it. But your title tag is the clickable link in Google. Google will also obviously show your URL. And if it's an internal page of your website, it'll also show what folders it sits in as well. And your meta description is not a ranking factor in Google, but it does heavily influence the click-through rate for your listing. So you want to make sure that you're optimizing your meta description, because if you include keywords in it, it will make those bold. So for this result here, we searched for digital marketing agency Leicester, and you can see that in our meta description, digital marketing agency and Leicester are all in bold. And that's because that's what the person has searched for. So including those key phrases makes those words bold, and that therefore makes the user aware that you are actually talking about a topic that they've searched for. If you are an e-commerce business, or you sell products or anything like that, it's also a really good idea to include any USPs or calls to actions and things like that. So if you offer next day delivery or free delivery or anything like that, try and include those where possible. And if you are a service-based company, if you offer free consultations or something like that, try and include those as well. Then we move on to the actual on-page content. So this includes the H1, H2 tags, the body content, images, and things like that. So every page on your website should have a H1 tag. This is the main heading on the page. It's usually the heading that you get at the top of a page. it should relate back to the title tag that you've specified as well. So if Google doesn't use your title tag, it can use your H1 tag. So we always recommend that you kind of use the same, not exactly the same, but a very similar title tag and H1 tag. So if Google doesn't use your title tag and it uses your H1 tag, you're still going to have that same relevancy to a user. You've also got your H2 tags as well. So your H2 tags aren't as important, and you can use as many of those as you want. Google puts more weight onto the H1 tag, which is why we say just keep one on the page. Your H2 tags, H3 tags, H4 tags, and so on. You can use those as you want, but they should kind of mirror the hierarchy of that page. So you'll have a H1 tag at the top, then a H2 tag. You talk about a topic. If you've got a subheading within that, that would be a H3 tag. Then you move on to another topic. That's a H2 tag. So it kind of structures out the different sections of the page. Within your page body content as well, this needs to be engaging and should contain keywords and phrases naturally, providing a call to action for the page as well. So don't, just because you've got a certain number of key phrases that you want to optimize on a page, don't go down the route of saying, oh, we need to include all of these key phrases 6 times on the page, else we're not going to rank for it. Just fit them in where it's natural. Google's really good at processing page content now. So Google can tell when you're trying to stuff keywords into the body content. And if it feels like you are doing that, they just won't rank you, because they know that it doesn't read naturally to a human. So if you are optimizing key phrases, make sure you only fit them in where natural, and don't go down the route of mentioning the key phrase every 10 words or something like that, because it, like I say, it just won't read naturally, and Google will pick up on it really quickly. In terms of images, make sure they're relevant and complementary to the page as well. So make sure that they're useful to the user experience and topic. And with your images as well, make sure that you're using an alt tag on there. So image alt tags are there to help with accessibility. So they help out with anyone that's using screen readers and things like that, that might have, be sight impaired or something like that. The screen will read out that image alt tag to the user and tell them what that image is. It only needs to be a couple of words. So if you've got an image of some Nike trainers or something, the alt tag would just be white Nike trainers or something like that. It also helps add a little bit of more relevancy to that page as well. And also with your images, where possible, try and save them and upload them with a file name that represents that product. Don't just upload like image 1, image 2, image 3, and so on. Try and use the product name or something like that. So once we're happy with the actual the core content on the website and the service pages and things like that, another area that we should be focusing on is FAQs. So what you need to do is think about your products and services and what sort of information do people need to know about that particular service. Luckily, Google makes this really easy for us. So no matter what you search in Google, it will usually display a people also ask box. And this is data directly from Google, and Google saying, well, about this topic, people are also asking these questions. And it's, for an SEO person, it's basically Google hinting that you need to mention these questions or answer these questions on your website if you want to rank well. So whatever product or service you've got, have a look through these different people also ask boxes. It comes up with about 3 or 4 usually, but if you just click on one, it then loads up another 4, and if you can just keep clicking on them, and you get an infinite list of questions that people are also asking. And it's kind of up to you how you want to structure FAQ content on the website as well. If it's specifically around a product, I'd recommend adding FAQ sections to those specific products or services. If it's a little bit more generic, then you can think about creating more longer form pieces of content around a specific group of questions and things like that, and then linking it back to your main service page. But yeah, definitely use the people also ask function in Google to see what people are searching for in relation to your product or service. And the same with blog content as well. You can use the people also ask to kind of get an idea of what blogs that you should be writing. But there's also a handful of tools out there that make the process really easy. So one tool that I like to use when I'm trying to think up of a blog post to write is called Also Asked. You get 3 uses daily for free. But essentially you put in your key phrase. So I said, I need to write a blog post about how to do key phrase research. So all I did was put in key phrase research process, and it basically pulls out all of those people also ask questions and filters them into different sections. So what you end up with is kind of a full wireframe of a blog that you can write on a specific topic. And you've got all your headings and questions there that you need to answer. So, we'd have one section on what is the key phrase research process. And then within that section, we're going to answer those top 6 questions in there. And then we'll move on. How do we do it step by step? And then we answer those questions. So it's all about trying to find tools that make your life a little bit easier when it comes to on-page SEO. The research process can be extremely time consuming, as well as then having to actually go off and write the content. So using tools like this kind of takes out some of that manual legwork. So I definitely recommend, using tools such as Also Asked or Answer the Public or anything like that, because they do take a bit of that manual legwork out and give you the ideas that you need straight away. So moving on to technical SEO. So technical SEO is essential to good organic visibility. So if Google can't crawl or index your website, it won't show up. So if you've got a fundamental issue with your website and Google can't index half of your website, it doesn't matter how good the content on your website is, and it doesn't matter if your domain authority is 100 out of 100. If there's a technical issue stopping the website from being indexed, it won't show up. So Google works in 3 stages when deciding whether to show a website in its search results. And the first stage is the crawling stage. So Google downloads all the text, images, and videos and pages it finds on your website. And it basically goes through, says this website has got 500 pages here, and this is what they're about. When we get to the indexing stage, Google then looks at that content in more depth, and it looks at that text and the images and things like that. And it looks to see whether it's unique content, whether it's AI generated content that's too generic, whether you've copied it from another website or anything like that. And then it basically stores that information in its database. And then finally, once it's done that, it then serves results. So based on what it finds in the indexing stage, Google then decides where it's going to place you for specific queries in Google search. So you'll get all different rankings, and it's based on all the different Google ranking factors. There's over 200 ranking factors. But basically, if you are just copy and pasting content from another website, Google will say, well, in the indexing stage, we identified that you've copied 99% of the content from another website. Therefore, when we serve results, we're not going to include this website. So making sure that obviously your technical SEO is up to scratch is really important. So first thing we're going to want to do is crawl the website. You can use a free tool called Screaming Frog for crawling the website. It is a paid for tool, but they have like a free version. The free version, you're allowed to crawl 500 pages. So for those of you that answered in the poll that's saying you've got less than 500 pages on your website, this tool can be quite useful, and you don't necessarily have to pay for it to get a full crawl of your website. And what this does is it crawls the website as Google would, and it picks out all the different elements of your website. So once we've crawled our website, we can quickly spot any technical red flags. So the first thing we want to do is have a look at the response codes. Now, the response codes are basically like the page status, and it will be There's different ones that you can have. So if the pages are working, your status code would be 200. If your page redirects to another page, it would be 301 or 302 or something like that. If that page no longer exists, it would come up as 404, not found. So you can see there we've got a few not founds there. Or if there's an if there's an error with the server or wherever the website's hosted, if there's an issue with your server, you'll get a 500 error, or it'll be 550 something. What we want to do is try and minimize any non-200 pages that we have on the website. So it will be natural that you'll have 404 pages on your website, but where possible, we want to eliminate any of the important ones. So if you do crawl your website and find that you have 404 errors, have a look to see if they are genuine old category pages or product pages or anything like that. If they're genuine pages, sometimes it's just like a misspelling on a URL or something, and you can go in and just amend that link wherever it sits on your website. But if they're old pages that no longer exist and you've created a new page to replace it, the best course of action is to go and implement what we call a 301 redirect to that new version of the page. And what that 301 redirect does is it automatically sends the user, when they go to that page, it sends them over to the new page. And it will also tell Google that the page no longer exists and this is the new version. And Google will transfer a bit of the authority that that old page had and transfer it to the new version of that page. The next thing we want to look at is images. So you will need the paid version of Screaming Frog to crawl your images on your website. I think I've put the price in. It's £200 a year. And to be honest, I think it's probably the most useful tool outside of Google Search Console that you could have, and it's probably the cheapest tool that you could have as well, that's specifically related to SEO. Now, images are really helpful on a website, and if you don't have any images on your website, you're probably going to struggle to keep users engaged. The main problem that we have with images is they also cause websites to be painfully slow if you're not optimizing them properly before you upload. So images should be as small in file size as possible. And wherever possible, you want to get your images to, around 100 kilobytes or less. What we can do in Screaming Frog is crawl the website. If you're using the paid version, there'll be a little tab that says images. You click on images, and then it will give you a list of every image that it finds on your website, and it will tell you how big that image is. So what you want to do with those is download all the images, put them in a tool like Photoshop, or if you don't have Photoshop, use a free online tool like compressor.io. Just put them into that tool. It will strip all the bulk out of that image, and it will optimize them, and it will take sort of 90% of that file size out of it. And then all you do is just re-upload it to the website and replace the one that was massive with the one that's now optimized. Like I say, it does have a massive impact on page speed. So if you have got a page that's got particularly product pages and things like that, where you might have, a dozen or so images, just make sure that you are optimizing them before you upload them. If you're using WordPress or something like that, consider getting an image optimization plugin that will optimize the image when you upload it to WordPress, especially if you've got multiple people that work on the website and you don't have any specific kind of structure in how things are done. If you've got a plugin on the website that does it for you, you don't need to worry about, sticking to certain guidelines and things like that. We also need to check our pre-click elements. So like I said, in the on-page section, your titles and descriptions, you want to make sure that they fit within Google's guidelines. So page titles are probably the most influential factors that Google looks at when it's working out the top of a page, and also how you're going to rank for that specific key phrase. So for your page titles, you want to make sure that they're between 30 and 60 characters in length. Google doesn't work on a character limit. It works on a pixel width. So the general rule is if you're under 60 characters, you should be fine. Anything over that, and you might find that Google starts to cut off the page title, and then your page title would stop. So if we had Annika digital marketing agency based in Leicester, if we were over by 30 characters or something, it might just say Annika digital marketing agency ... And that's basically Google cutting it off because it's too long. So if you do notice in Google, a lot of your pages have the 3 dots at the end of the title. It's because your title tags are too long. So you need to go back into your website and optimize those to be, anywhere between 30 and 60 characters. Try and get as close to 60 as you can, and make sure you include your key phrases within them. For meta descriptions, like I said, they're not a ranking factor, but Google does have guidelines on them. You get about 155 characters for meta descriptions. So you get a bit more space to write in there. And again, make sure that you're including click-through, call to actions and USPs and things like that to entice users to actually click through to your website instead of a competitor's website. Screaming Frog will also tell you if you're duplicating titles. So if you've got more than one page with the same page title, you're going to find that you run into duplication issues, and Google will find both of those pages and it won't know which one to rank because they've got the same page title. So always make sure that every page has a unique page title and that you've not got 10 pages with the same page title, else none of them will rank because Google won't know which one is kind of like the authoritative page. It will also tell you any pages that have missing titles and descriptions as well. So again, you just want to make sure that you're not missing any titles in particular. Meta descriptions, if they are missing, Google will auto-generate them, and usually they're terrible. So where possible, try and write one yourself. Else Google might just pick the links out of the footer of your website and put those as a meta description, and it will say terms and conditions, cookie policy, privacy policy, and no one's going to click on that. So yeah, just make sure that wherever possible you're writing them yourself and not relying on Google to populate those for you. The next regular housekeeping element to check is your site speed and your core web vitals. So core web vitals is its own ranking factor in Google, and it basically measures user experience and page load. So Google's in particular, it's looking at 2 things on the website, and that is the largest contentful paint and the cumulative layout shift. The largest contentful paint is how long it takes for the biggest element of that page to load. So that is usually the main title on your page, the main heading in a banner, or the banner itself. How long is that taking to load? And it also looks at the layout shift. So it's looking at whether, you've got an image that loads in and then the content loads in, but it pushes that image down. And then another image loads in and pushes the content across. If your website's doing that as it loads, Google hates it. And that's kind of why they've now brought out these core web vitals metrics to measure how much your website is shifting as it loads. It used to also look at first input delay, but they have now taken a lot of the focus off that and shifted it more towards the layout shift. So I think layout shift used to be responsible for like 25% of your score or something, but it's now more important. You want to be making sure that where possible your website passes these assessments, especially on desktop and mobile, particularly for mobile. Google uses a mobile first index. So although you might say that most people come to your website through the desktop, Google's actually looking at your mobile site and seeing how well that's optimized and ranking you based on that site. So sites that pass core web vitals, they can benefit from a slight ranking boost against the sites that fail. So you want to focus on this more than the score out of 100. So as well as these metrics at the top, you'll also get a performance score out of 100. So anything 90 or above, Google will class as good. But you can score 90 out of 100 and still fail the core web vitals. So this score here is more of a vanity metric. Everyone wants to have 100 out of 100 for performance. But if you need to focus on anything, I'd say definitely recommend on your core web vitals, pass or fail. If you are failing, you can use this pagespeed.web.dev tool. It's Google's tool, so you're getting the score direct from Google, but it will tell you why you fail further down the tool. There'll be a little thing that says improvements to make or something, and then there'll be a box that says largest contentful paint. And if you click on that, it will tell you what the largest contentful paint element of that page is. The only thing to bear in mind is that that tool works on a page-by-page basis. So if you've got hundreds of pages, you'd have to check every single page one by one. Or you can use your Search Console account, and there's a Core Web Vitals section in there, and it will tell you how many pages pass and how many pages fail. The only caveat to this tool is you need enough traffic coming through to the website for Google to give you a score. They use real-world data. So they use the data from people visiting your website on Google Chrome, and it's a rolling 30-day average. So if you make amends to your website, the next day, although your score might go up, your Core Web Vitals would still say fail if you were failing. You have to wait a month or a couple of months before Google, the average catches back up, and then you get that pass mark. So just bear in mind, if you have fixed something and you know that the website's working, that your Core Web Vitals might still say fail. And then finally, moving on to off-page SEO. So off-page SEO is responsible for activities away from your website. The main element you're looking to impact is your domain authority. Generally, the higher your domain authority, the less difficulty you'll have ranking in Google. So domain authority is not a Google metric, but rather a tool's interpretation of Google's PageRank. So Google basically has its own internal system that it ranks pages by, and this is all based on how many links point to a certain page, how many links point to the website overall. It can probably include things like, people engaging with that page and stuff like that. But the tools that you use, that score that you get for domain authority is that tool's score, but they're trying to interpret how Google would rank that website. So the higher your domain authority is in the tools like Ahrefs or Moz, the higher your page rank is likely to be, because that's how the tools are working. And, if the tools think that the website's good, it's highly likely that they think it's good because they think Google thinks it's good. So to impact your domain authority, you need to earn links from other websites, and is essentially a link from one website to another is essentially like a vote of confidence. So if you've got a link from one website to a website over here, this website is telling Google that they recommend that website and that they trust it, and that Google should trust it as well. So it's kind of like voting for that website. And when you do earn links from other websites, some of their authority can be passed through to your site. So the first thing that you want to do is check the backlinks to your website. So keeping on top of your links allows you to ensure you are not only earning new links, but also see whether the links are helping to improve your organic visibility. So if you do earn a few high authority links and your organic visibility rises, you know that they're the types of links that you need to continue to build. Most of the tools that you'll use to track links are paid for and can be quite expensive. But Ahrefs, if you do a Google for Ahrefs backlink checker, they do offer a free kind of snippet. So I'd definitely recommend checking that out. It'll also give you a domain rating as well, but it'll tell you how many links you've got and how many domains in total are linking to you, to give you an idea of the types of links that you've got. But if you are earning new backlinks, then you want to, if you do see that you've got a rise in organic traffic after you've built certain links, then you can be fairly sure that you need to keep earning those links because it's helping your visibility grow. Another thing that you can look at as well is also checking broken backlinks. So links that point to a 404 page will not provide any benefit to you. And what I mean by broken backlinks is if you've got a page on your website that's now a 404 page and it doesn't exist, and you've got links pointing to that page, that's essentially what we call a broken backlink, because the link from one website to your website is pointing to a page that doesn't exist anymore. Therefore, it's not going to pass any authority through, or it's not going to have any benefit for you. So you can use Ahrefs to identify the broken links. And you can either go back to the person that's linking to you and say, oh, we've removed this page, but this content still exists. It's over here now. Can you just update the link? Or you can, like I say, implement a 301 redirect to replace that page, and so automatically send users to that new page. That will then also transfer a little bit of that authority across. It will dilute a bit of the authority that link had through that redirect, but if the original person is not updating that link for you, at least you're then still going to get a little bit of benefit out of it. Another thing that you need to be wary of is just to check reviews as well. So if you're a local business, reviews play a massive part in how the local search algorithms work, particularly if people are searching on Google Maps or you're trying to appear in the map pack. So when you search for a business locally and it comes up, like the bottom right image here, it comes up with a few of the different businesses that are local to you. You need to make sure that you're gaining new reviews, and also making sure that if you are getting negative reviews, for example, that you're responding to them. Even the positive reviews as well, where possible, respond to those. Google, in your Google My Business profile, when your reviews come up, Google also has an option that says reviews from the web. And Google will show users reviews from Trustpilot, reviews.co.uk, Facebook, Yale.com, wherever. Pretty much wherever you can get bulk reviews from, Google might show that on your profile as well. So just making sure that you're not just focusing on getting Trustpilot reviews. You want to get reviews on your Google business profile. You want to get them on your social media profiles, on Yale.com if you're on directories like that and stuff as well. Try and just make sure that you're getting reviews and that you're getting them spread across all the different review platforms that you have. Also, you want to check your NAP. So your NAP is your business's name, address, and phone number, and it's vital to have these aligned across the web, particularly if you're a local business. So your NAP appears on citation listings, and for local businesses can be as useful as a physical link to your website. So when I was just saying about Yale.com and things like that, typically that's where your business will have its name, address, and phone number listed, and there'll be tons and tons of local business directories and things like that where you can list your business on. You want to make sure that your business details are aligned on all of those listings. You want to make sure that those listings are aligned with your Google business profile, and you want to make sure that your business profile is aligned with your website. So your business name should be exactly the same across your website, Google My Business, and any mentions on the Yale.com or the local directories and things like that. The same with your address and the same with your phone number. You want to make sure that every listing has the same elements in it. If they're all properly aligned, even if there's not a link to your website, Google knows that listing is about your business, and therefore it can help improve your local visibility. So if you're a local business, highly recommend making sure that you're aligning details across all your different listings across the web. So I think I've just about finished in time. So just to summarize, it's essential to keep up to date with the latest Google algorithms, and you can use the link provided to keep up to date with those. Google tends to roll out core algorithm updates quarterly, I'd say. They usually release 2 to 4 a year. But in between that, they will roll out specific updates, whether it's product review updates, spam updates, helpful content updates. They've got loads of different updates that they can release. So we usually end up with sort of one a month or at least. Also focus on low-hanging fruit type key phrases. So these are the key phrases that we said we get impressions for, and we get a handful of clicks. So we know that we're there or thereabouts on page 1, or we're at the bottom of page 1 or the top of page 2, whatever it might be. Those key phrases, moving a key phrase from the bottom of page 1 to the top of page 1, will have a much more significant impact on how many clicks you get than getting something from the top of page 2 to the bottom of page 1. So wherever possible, focus on those proper low-hanging fruit type key phrases, because they will have more benefit than getting something from page 8 to page 2. Use the people also ask function in Google to structure your supporting content. Use that to determine what FAQs you need to add to your website. Like I say, that information is direct from Google. Google wouldn't be giving you that information if it wasn't true. So Google's basically saying these are the questions people are asking. So they're the questions that you need to answer within your content. You want to keep your site errors, so 404 pages to a minimum, and utilize 301 redirects where possible. Check your competitors' backlink profiles to see what common links they share and target those websites to earn new links. So if you've got 5 competitors that all have a website, all have a link on this website over here, you know that that's probably quite an attainable link and you could get that as well. So focus on common links that competitors share, because the likelihood is if multiple competitors have got that link, you can get it too. And also start learning about AI, in particular like ChatGPT, and how it can help you generate content in bulk to help improve efficiency. So like I said, particularly with on-page SEO, although there's not a massive cost association with it, there is a big time association with it. So using things like ChatGPT to flesh out the bulk of content for you is really useful. And that means instead of creating content from scratch, you've got a base to work from, and you can go through and edit that content. Like I say, don't get your content out of ChatGPT and upload it directly to your website. Google will catch on to that extremely quickly. You need to make sure you're going through, editing it, expanding on certain points, or being more concise with certain things. But ChatGPT, it will save you a heck of a lot of time. So definitely have a look and see how that can help you. And that's me done.
Brilliant.
So thank you.
A couple of questions, Brad.
Yeah.
Just about what's the ideal image size to use on a standard web page?
If that's in terms of dimensions, I would have a look at what size.
Less than 2000 px, isn't it? Pixels, and then.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, you don't want to upload an image that's bigger than it'll ever be shown on a desktop screen.
Yeah.
Because then Google's going to have to work to resize that image every time it loads it. So if you know an image is going to show on your website at 1000 pixels by 500 pixels, that's the dimensions you want to upload it to the website in originally. You know, you don't want it to be 3000 by 1000 and then half it in size, because it's going to slow the website down.
And someone asked about how important is it to include your brand name in product title tags? We are an e-commerce business, but selling other brands.
In your page title, we always say try and get your key phrases in first. You don't have to include your brand name, but it depends, what your kind of brand guidelines are. So I know at Annika, wherever possible, you try and put
brands. It's trying a few things out as well, isn't it?
I think for them, because they sell other brands, if it's their own brand products, you definitely should have your brand in the title tag, because I think it will allow you to differentiate. It will also, if you're selling products, it's going to be used in things like shopping ads. So there's a number of reasons why it's probably a good idea. I've just put in a link to ChatGPT webinar that I did a couple of weeks ago. So I just wanted to mention that. Also, there was lots of questions about free tools. The A10 brochure ebook which you can download off the website has got quite a lot of links to free tools in there. A lot of the tools that you might end up having to buy do have a freemium model, which means you get a certain amount of information. So SEMrush is quite a good example of that. I also think the other one that's really good is SEO Monitor, but the basic account for them is 150 quid, but they do have something called Topics.SEO Monitor, which I think they're going to eventually retire, but they also have a Chrome extension. So another good place to go is Chrome extensions, because you often find a lot of tools associated with that.
Also the Google Keyword Planner as well in Google Ads.
Yeah.
Do your key phrase research. That's free. You have to set up an ads account and sometimes put your credit card in, but you don't need to pay for an ad.
I think they used to charge you £5 if you've got a new account, but I don't know whether they've stopped doing that now. You don't have to spend any money on advertising though.
No.
So I got a couple of things I wanted to talk about. First of all, have you all seen the new podcast? So we've got a weekly podcast. Myself and Brad will be doing that very shortly. So you can join our podcast. There's about 8 of them published so far. So if you want to go and listen on Spotify, that's brilliant. But you can also listen on quite a few other places. Or if you go to the main Annika page for webinars and podcasts, most of them are already uploaded there. So what you'll see is there'll be a webinar and then a podcast following on. So I've just put that link in there. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about was the fact that we've developed a new tool called Mammoth. We're still playing around with the logo, so don't expect this logo to be very good. I just knocked something up just purely for this. Now, Mammoth is a new AI tool built by James, who's in our technical SEO team. And what he's done is he's created this tool that allows us to go and use the AI in OpenAI, which is what ChatGPT is built with, and go and create content for e-commerce websites. So it's really designed for more than 500 pages, and you can get your content from as little as £600 for 500 pages. If you want us to edit it as well, it is slightly more expensive. But when you scale up to 10,000 pages, it's only 60 pence. We can do more than that, but it just means that you'll have to talk to us about the price. But if anybody has got a lot of content that they need to create, we need a bit of a seed database of maybe what you load up into Amazon or what you run your SKUs from in an Excel spreadsheet. But if anybody's interested, if you just click on the find out more, what we'll do is we'll contact you afterwards and talk to you on a one-to-one basis. And if anybody wants, to see some test data from the stuff we've already done, please feel free to contact there or possibly send me an email. So thank you for that. I don't know if that's of interest. Leave a comment if you think that looks interesting. We looked at some companies that sell content on a page-by-page basis, and it's usually between £10 and £30 a page. So if you've obviously got a big e-commerce website, then this is a very cost-effective way. And the quality is really surprisingly good, isn't it, Brad? Although it does take quite a lot of messing around to get it right.
Yeah.
Excellent. Any more questions for anybody? Is there anything?
Alice has sent one just asking about creating a shop on eBay. So might have to get Alice's details and go back to her on that one.
Cool. Well, thank you very much, everybody. I'll catch up with you in a few minutes, Brad, to do the podcast.
Just sent through the review offers, by the way. Just
I think they've already come up, Katie.
Yeah, that's great.